good as new. That's not going anywhere. So I'm doing a little bit of work on the Chinese mini excavator today, and I thought I'd take you guys along for the ride. So this is the new mower that I built. I don't think I've made a video about this yet, or I made one, but I haven't published it. So I am putting a new hydraulic motor on there to power the blade underneath. And the original motor that I had on there that I bought, that it blew out the seal. So this one is actually meant for it's like 1 to 1.5 ton mini excavator. This is considered a 2 ton, so I think it'll be fine. So I have that to fix, that to weld on these pieces on here like so. And then this is my bead buster. I messed up the threads on this piece here, so I'm welding a nut onto there. I use this to take off tractor tires, and it works quite well, but they didn't make it strong enough. So I am going to, we have like a grade 8 or grade 10 bolt, and then a grade 8 nut there. So I have that to fix. And then on the excavator itself, I noticed this. So these are like little collars here, and they're supposed to help with wear. So instead of wearing a piece of metal this big, you wear it this big. So this piece, in my opinion, is supposed to be welded to this one, and it's not. So I'm going to have to clean that up, and I'm going to weld those as well. So those are going to get welded. The hydraulic motor, the bead buster, and the this piece here. The other ones are fine, and everything else on this machine is welded. Little stuff like this, I'd love to weld that. And then one other thing that has bothered me about this machine, so there's no pull point on the back of this thing. So if I get this thing buried somewhere, there's no way to pull from it unless I went through those 2 holes there. And the problem with doing that is you are likely going to hurt one of the hydraulic lines, and I just don't want to deal with that. So I'm going to weld a middle pull point on here. And then there's no tie down points on this. On my old Bobcat, there was a little hole in the casting here, and you could just slip a strap in there and tie the machine down. They really they kind of thought stuff like that through, and they didn't on this machine. So I'm going to put some tie downs on this. This will be the middle one, and then these ones here are going to go probably here, something like that. And then I'll be able to tie this machine down very easily. So that's my plans for that. One on each side here. I would go to the track frame. This is what I want. And then it's real easy to hook and unhook. And you just need a short strap. So I guess let's get started. There's quite a bit of welding to do here today. what is new? That's not going anywhere. Just finished up welding everything that needed welded today, and I guess we'll show you some welds. So that's tie down number one. It's nice I don't have to go to the middle of the machine to hook and unhook this. It's right on the track frame. So that's one. Here's the middle pull point if I need to tow something or I need to pull this machine out. I don't think that is going to go anywhere. Yeah, the welds aren't the prettiest, but I guess the gloss paint also makes it look worse than what it actually is. And here's the last pull point, or tie down point. That looks pretty good. I'm pleased with that. I don't think that's going to go anywhere. And it does not stick out outside of the track. Here are those two bushings that I welded on to this piece of metal. I'm not sure why they didn't do that from the factory. I can't figure that out, but they're on there now. So we'll have a bigger surface here to wear from. Instead of just this little piece of metal here, we'll have, I don't know, 1.5 inches instead of 3/8 or whatever the thickness of that metal is, but not too bad. You know, I'm just using a little flux core. I'm just using a little flux core welder, the little titanium 200, titanium flux 125. I'm just using that little welder there, and then the electric in this building isn't the greatest, so I've been using a GenMax generator to power the welder, and it actually works quite well. You have to have the heat setting on the medium. You cannot run the welder full tilt. It'll kick off it'll sense the overload and shut the welder off the generator, so you got to be a little careful there. But yeah, it works quite well. It works pretty decent. You just have to weld slow. And there is the hydraulic motor all welded up. It's not too bad. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. And I also have the Lovejoy coupler on there. Yeah, you guys can see that. I have that on there as well. So that looks pretty good. Boy, a lot of time in that mower. Oh man, I bet I have maybe 100 hours in that, I'd imagine. Yeah, maybe not that much. Probably 50 to 100 at least. Kind of designing things and everything, but we're slowly getting there. There's also a case drain. So you have one of these this is probably oil in, oil out, and then there's a case drain. So I have to run this line back up to the cab and into the hydraulic tank. So that's probably a project for another day. Hope everyone enjoyed my video. Thanks for watching. I'm glad you made it to the end. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more. And we will see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.